pushing, Tuifa, or flat pushing, ping Tuifa, which means the basic pushing, is generally done straight away from the body, a simple push. The hand should stay relaxed. One of the most common mistakes is to lift the fingers, keep some tension there. Keep the hand a little rounded. Try to make full contact with the surface and push away from you. This one's a little hard to practice on a beanbag, but you can really practice on any surface, including your thigh. And the push, again, like with the swaying techniques, comes from the extension of the elbow, but also from the core of the body, the hips and legs. So the whole body should be coordinated behind that push. Right? And when it's done in a small area, it again has a rhythmic feeling. Right? So while I'm not applying any pressure back, I still have a kind of rhythm, pushing away each time very consistently. It could be done with a knuckle, right? Usually not the point of the knuckle, but the back of the finger, right? Or even more easily, as long as it's a larger area, all the knuckles together, 3 or 4 fingers pushing, right, away from me. If I do it with one thumb, I'm generally going to brace that thumb. If you have really strong thumbs and they're not too hyperflexible, you do not need to support it. Right? But if your thumbs tend to be a little extra flexible, then just support it with one finger. Right? And again, this can be done reasonably quickly and rhythmically. Right? So this is ping Tuifa, the basic pushing or flat pushing. We also see fun Tuifa, the dividing push, where we're pulling apart. So this should come from the whole arm and not just the thumbs themselves. Right? It can be done as a kind of dragging or pulling movement as well, right? A little easier on the thumb, right? So if it's a lighter movement, it can be done this way. If I want a little heavier force, I change the orientation of my hand. And again, not doing it from the thumbs and the knuckles, doing it from the whole arm, drag from the arm. So here it's really coming all the way from up in the shoulder. And even here I can feel, right, a very subtle external rotation, right? I'm externally rotating my shoulders, just without supinating the hands, right? Doing it this way, pulling apart, it feels more like internal rotation from the shoulders, and always supported from the abdominal core and the whole body, right? I could even put one thumb on top of each other and pull across and out from the center that way. The final form of pushing we're going to look at is called spiral pushing. And this again has to come from the whole body and not just the thumb joint, right? So some of it's going to come from the elbow. Right? As I push away from me, I'm getting a little elbow extension. It comes a little bit from the shoulder and from the core of the body. This can be a little confusing in terminology because sometimes this kind of circling movement is called finger round rubbing. Right? Round rubbing with one finger. Right? I could even do it with a supported index finger. Right? I'm just laying my middle finger on top, or I can reverse it. Use the middle finger as the pressing surface, the contact surface, and the other on top. These are all friction techniques because in all of these techniques, pushing, dividing pushing, spiral pushing, or round rubbing, I'm sliding over the surface of the beanbag, right? So some degree of friction is being applied. So when it's a little heavier application of force, it's going to feel more like the pushing technique. So we might think of it as belonging to the spiral pushing. When it's a little lighter, then it has more of that round rubbing feeling. So, terminology aside, the basic round rubbing with the palm, you can see how the whole palm slides over the surface of the beanbag, like it would slide over the surface of the skin. So it's a much lighter technique than kneading. Again, my fingers are relaxed, I'm not lifting them up. Here I'm using the whole palm. You can try both directions and should try both directions. Again, the movement's coming from my elbow, a little bit from my shoulder, depending on how big the circle is, and from the core of my body and my hips. Often with fingertips, you see a 3-finger round rubbing, very commonly used on the abdomen. So the hand's still staying very slightly cupped and relaxed. And the contact point is just the pads of the 3 fingers. I should try it in both directions. And we already discussed doing a single finger round rubbing, which is sometimes combined with the linear pushing to travel. Along in a circle. All right, so it's a spiraling path. All right, if I do it with the thumb. All right, it's got overall the shape of the pushing straight away from me, but made up of small circles, and thus a spiral. And that has some of the benefits of both the round rubbing or circular pushing along with the straight pushing. You even sometimes see the clasped hands. This is called the Taiji palms, right? Because it's like the 2 fish, the yin and yang fish, right, intersecting, right? And the round rubbing now happens with both hands. It's a little firmer than the single hand. Helps get the whole body involved a little bit more. So I feel this one's happening more from my hips. Still a little bit from my elbows, right, as I go around. And if I take the beanbag away, it's going to look like this. So those are 2 of the most important friction techniques, pushing Tuifa and round rubbing, Mofa.